Hey folks, my name is Pravus and welcome to more Sid Meier's Civilization VII. We are playing with the Founders Edition of the game as Xerxes, King of Kings, and we are now ready to exit the Exploration Age and enter into the Modern Age. And this is exciting for me because this might just be one of the first videos on YouTube that's going to get to show you Modern Age content. Of course, a very big thank you to 2K and Firaxis for making this possible and sponsoring today's video. It's very much appreciated. If you guys would like to learn more about Civ 7, there will be a link in the description down below. But now, let's take a look at our age transition and the new cultures available to us. We can access America, Buganda, the Mughals, Prussia, and Qing, though we do not have access to the French Empire, Meiji, Japan, Mexico, Russia, and Siam. I think we're going to have to go with the Mughals because it does seem like the most appropriate thematic choice for us. Does have some interesting bonuses. Another 75% gold from all sources, but we get a penalty to all other yields. Hopefully with that much extra gold, though, we can easily make up for it. Plus, we do get a unique infantry unit. We have the Stepwell. We have special settlers. Yeah, it just makes sense. We're going to have to play as the Mughals. Let's accept the legacies that we earned from our phenomenal performance in the Exploration Age. We got at least 3 Golden Ages, and we would have done better with the economy if we had literally one more turn. Now, I've put a lot of thought into where we want to spend some of these points, and there are a lot of things to consider. I am going to be picking up, again, the Scientific Golden Age. Kind of like with the Golden Age Academies, I think the Golden Age Universities are going to be good. We'll get the best yields and adjacency bonuses, and that's going to make up a little bit for the fact that my science is about to take a massive hit, and you'll see why that's awful in just a bit. As far as our culture, if we wanted to, we could have gone for a golden age for the shrines of the kami, which is one of the beliefs we had from our religion. And this would have given me extra culture, gold, and science for every wonder for other civs following my religion. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that was going to be one of my cultural golden age options. Otherwise, I would have put a lot more effort trying to keep some of these cities under Zoroastrian control. So that would have been a phenomenal golden age benefit, but I did not do it, so we're not going to be able to pick that one up. I will go for deep roots, though. The extra culture in a previous age is certainly going to be quite nice. For our 3 military points, I could go for some extra production in settlements of distant lands. But unless I plan on making them into cities, what this really translates into is a lot of extra gold, which is not that bad, but I think it's only going to be like 40 gold per turn or something like that. I think it would actually be a lot better for me to focus instead on getting some more attribute points and trying to use those to boost up my leader and my economy that way. So I may be focusing a lot on attributes, but I do think that that is overall going to be worth it. In fact, let's go ahead and spend those now. So under culture, let's go ahead and make it a little bit easier for us to get some civic masteries, and I also would like to get some extra culture for all settlements for resources assigned. Hopefully we can get a lot of resources. For diplomacy, let's go ahead and make it a little bit cheaper for us to support and reject actions, since I am wary that my neighbors are going to be constantly trying to go to war with me. For economy, let's go ahead and get probably gold for every imported resource. We'll do a lot of trade, expansionists. I want extra food and populations and new settlements. Militaristic, doesn't really matter all that much what I pick up here, I think. Maybe we'll just go for the cheaper production on units. And for science, let's go ahead and get more science for every town and even more in distant lands. That leaves me with 1 extra wild card point that I could spend. I'm going to spend that in diplomacy then. Let's get 1 extra social policy slot. That's going to make a very big difference for us. Because here's the thing, you may have noticed, our science and our culture is once again absolutely atrocious. We are now pretty much down toward the bottom of the pack. Only a turn ago, I was making like 600 science per turn, so what gives? Well, just like with the transition from the age of exploration, what we're going to find is that all of our old buildings are once again going to be outdated and do not produce nearly as much as they used to. In fact, it's so bad that in some of my cities, we now have a massive health deficit, minus 26 over here. That matters a lot, because when you're in the negative with your happiness, that actually does reduce all of your yields. Case in point, if I were to take some horses over here and assign them to try and offset this a little bit, you'll see just like that I get like 4 extra science and stuff like that. So we're slightly offsetting the damage being done. But rearranging that happiness a little bit, now we're up to 177 science. Okay, that is improved, but we can make it better. Let's go to our social policies. I do still have several special policies from my previous cultures, some of which are going to be quite good. So let's go for the City of Peace, Sales and Trade, Compendious Books, and the Angarium, getting me a lot of extra gold and a lot of extra science. Now we're up to 266 science, which at least puts me into competitive range with most of the civs. Okay. The other thing that's really hurting me right now when it comes to my science and culture is actually going to be my specialists. We had a lot of specialists across my empire, and unfortunately, what I did confirm with one of the devs is if you had specialists assigned in buildings from, let's say, the Age of Exploration, once you move on to the next age, because it is an outdated building, you do not get any of your adjacency bonuses. So your specialists are still consuming your food and your happiness, which is dragging down your entire economy, but they're producing kind of minimum base yields with their culture and their science. That actually means to me, though, that assigning your specialists onto ageless buildings, like let's say this ulema over here, is actually extra valuable and probably does dictate how you should be laying out your cities in the future. So I'm actually learning a lot for future games. Anyway, let's address the rest of my empire. Looks like for some reason I'm able to grow a lot of my cities. Okay. And I should note there is a new type of tile improvement available now. We can start colonizing the mountains with some of these expeditionary camps, giving you production and a little bit of much needed happiness. And just like with the last age, we do have to once again reorganize my new and improved army. And we have a new technology tree that we will be able to make use of. In this case, I think I'm going to go for academics first because I do really want to start ramping up that science. But there are a couple of different paths that you'll want to take once you know what you want to do for a victory in this game. Because unlike with the Antiquity Age or the Exploration Age, now that we're in the Modern Age, we can actually win the game. And we need to put our eyes on the prize. We'll talk about that in a second, though. Let's go ahead and move to the civics tree. I need to pick up natural history as quickly as possible. You'll understand why in just a bit once I talk about victory conditions. Of course, we also do have Mughal civics that we could play with now. And I think that more or less takes care of everything, and after reassigning all my buildings and resources, this is our final tally for our science and our culture. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about victory conditions, because this is now obviously very, very important. For an economic victory, we need to get something called Railroad Tycoon points. This is actually somewhat similar to the idea of the treasure fleet points we had from the previous game, but executes very differently. If I open up my resources here, what you're going to see is we have a lot of resources down here labeled as factory resources. And right now, I cannot assign those into any towns, but they are very, very powerful. For example, coffee could give me a 5% bonus towards building and wonder construction, and this is empire-wide, and it stacks with multiple copies of coffee. Tea would get me extra science, kaolin would get me culture, cotton would give me production toward land units, settlement growth, and so on and so forth. So how do you place down your factory resources? Let's go to the technology screen. What you need to do is get industrialization tech and mass production tech. Mass production gets you the factories. Place down factories and guess what? You can do stuff with factories. However, you have to then transport goods back and forth. So you only get the benefit once you also have a rail station. Build both of these in a town and you'll be able to assign a special resource. And we need to do that in every town and city that we can. If we can generate 500 points, this would then unlock the World Bank victory condition. We'll come back to that later if it ends up being relevant for us. What other victory conditions exist? Well, the military, unsurprisingly, is all about conquest. Gain points from conquering settlements. But we only get 1 before we have an ideology, 2 points if we do have an ideology, and 3 if we are fighting an opponent with a different ideology. What does that mean? Well, if we go to our civics, you'll find out that we have something here called political theory. What this is going to do is unlock 3 entirely new civic trees, 1 for democracy, 1 for fascism, and 1 for communism. You'll need to pick your nation's direction, and then ideally you get into ideological wars with other players, conquer their stuff in the name of, I don't know, let's say democracy, and boom, you can get up to 3 points. That's how you get yourself a militaristic victory, and that opens up something called Operation Ivy. Again, we'll come back to that later if it becomes relevant. For a science victory, this is going to feel more familiar from previous Civ games. We need to complete space race projects. That means we start by doing things like researching flight and transoceanic flights, then aerodynamics, and eventually rocketry, launching a satellite project. If we can do all of that, then we can launch the first ever staffed space flight, and that will end the game with a scientific victory. But to do that, you're going to have to get through a lot of technology, all the way down here to rocketry. So tons and tons of science is going to be required. Finally, let's not forget about that cultural victory. For this, we simply need to house archaeological artifacts in our empire. 15 is all we're looking for before we could then host a World's Fair. But how do you get artifacts? Well, this is why I want to go for natural history as quickly as possible. If we build a museum, I will be able to hire explorers who will then go and harvest the archaeological dig sites. This is a little bit like the race for missionaries and getting a lot of religion spread, except in this case, there are a finite number of archaeological digs in the world, and I need to get my explorers out there and gathering as quickly as possible, because all the other AIs are going to rush for it, and once the artifacts are gone, poof, that is it. You do not get to make any more progress. So you really want to get to as many artifacts as possible. This is actually going to get even better once you get all the way up to hegemony. This is going to unlock a second round of cultural artifacts. The first person to get to hegemony is going to have a huge advantage, which is why you would need an absolute ton of culture. Alas, I'm a bit weak on that front. So I don't expect that a cultural victory and the World's Fair is going to be in the cards, but we'll still do the best that we can. Now, one thing I did just notice is a bunch of new city-states just appeared out of nowhere. All right, we got some cultural guys here. We got some militaristic ones. Nobody up here, so this could be a very good settling spot for us. Munich just appeared up over here. Kathmandu, and finally a bunch of people settling around the Grand Canyon. I'm not sure why the AIs have decided to completely ignore this. This has been a great settling spot for a while. I would have gone over here, but I'm blocked. Well, either way, let's go ahead and quickly try to get some of these guys on our good side. And I'm actually probably going to go ahead and clear out some of these natives over here, because I need to settle down some more cities. The more resources I have for my factories and the boost of the happiness of my empire, the better. So this would be a decent settling spot over here. This up here would be a very good settling spot. In fact, what I probably should do is go ahead and buy myself a settler if we can afford it, which I cannot. But we'll come back to that in the next turn. I want to get there before Benjamin Franklin has a chance. As far as choosing a government, we got a few options here. Authoritarianism is obviously great if you're going for a militaristic victory. Bureaucratic monarchy is good for honestly anything involving the economy and diplomacy, and then elective is great for cultural and scientific victories. It's going to be good for the economic victory because we want to get to mass production. There's a lot to like here. I'm going to go ahead and pick up the elective republic. Now that I've got a little bit of money, let's go ahead and buy our special settler, the Zamindar, which gets me extra population when I settle a new settlement, and plus I have the special ability from my attributes, so we should be able to start with like 2 or 3 extra tiles with every settlement. We're going to grow very quickly here. Now, we should start thinking a little bit about our diplomatic situation with any of the other players. Ben Franklin, I think, is a huge threat for us. He totally could get into a position where he wins the game with something unexpected like a space race. I could also see Jose becoming a problem culturally at some point. He's got great culture production. Ashoka, I'm not really worried about from losing the game, but he has been a very unpleasant and aggressive neighbor for a while. Plus, he tends to ally up with Jose. What I might want to do is consider getting an alliance going with Napoleon of Prussia. Now, he's somebody I don't think is really in a position to win the game, though I could be wrong on that. And I don't expect that I'm going to be at odds with him on interests for a while, so it might be worth trying to befriend him, see if we can get an alliance, and then together we start knocking Ashoka and Jose down a peg, and then if I find myself in a really good position, maybe we could fight Ben Franklin in the future, if we have to. New settlements are going down. Excellent. We can grab ourselves some key extra resources. 1, 2... Wow, yep, and we can indeed get 3 tiles for each of our new settlements. That's pretty great. And I did just now see some artifact slots pop up. That would be these over here. These ruins are what we should be able to explore. And explorers can go through other players' borders without really being impeded. So regardless of diplomatic situation, it's not like having a lot of territory prevents people from getting in and grabbing your artifacts. This is a free-for-all. We did just get academics online, which now means I have access to a schoolhouse. So I really want to go ahead and get this online and start unlocking my specialists once again. And I'm totally willing to spend a lot of money. All right, one of the powers we have as the Mughals is the ability to generate a lot of extra cash. I think we get a 75% bonus to all gold sources, though we do get a minus 25 malice to literally everything else. So it kind of evens out, but my main power is that I can use money to get the things that I need instantly, making up for a lack of production. And if I can get things like schoolhouses and stuff online fast because I didn't have to spend 5 turns building something, well then it kind of makes up for the 25% deficit, a little bit. Now I do want to start thinking a little bit about when we're going to go to war. We're probably going to end up taking a couple of cities away from, who are these guys now? The Qing. Yeah, we're going to be ending up doing that, so I will take these 2 cities later on. The thing is, I don't think there's a lot of advantage to going to war right now, because until I have an ideology, anything I conquer, I'm getting less points. So it might make sense to just hold off on war for at least a little bit, but once I've got my natural history taken care of and I can get all these other texts out of the way and make my way to political theory, that's when we go ahead and start conquering. Okay, we finish up with the natural history. I don't know if I have enough money, but what I want to do is immediately... No, I don't have enough. Next turn, get some museums, and then get some explorers up and a-running. Let's go ahead and buy that first explorer here. I'm going to spend all my money trying to rush this as quick as we can. And if we click on the explorer, we can now see a few things. Don't get distracted by this right now. This is if we want to do some research to find ruins. We've already found everything we can for right now. The real trick is getting to hegemony so we can figure out what antiquity age ruins exist. For right now, we know where the exploration age ruins are. And it looks like there's 3 of them up over here, so we better rush up that direction. And from an event, we did just get our first artifact, the Graubal Man, which is worth 4 culture, and just like with, let's say, the religious artifacts or the scientific codices, you need to have places to store them. Still, it's worth a halfway decent amount of culture, so we're actually still in last place on culture, but we're not that far behind some other players. I did get another cultural attribute point. Let's see, culture from towns or culture from specialists? Probably still go for the specialists. I think that we ultimately have more of those than we have distant towns. It's worth about, what was that, 11, 10 or so culture? Maybe it would have been better to go for the towns, to be honest. We do have quite a few settlements. Well, hopefully we'll have the opportunity to do something like that again later. This is unpleasant. Alright, so Ashoka has already allied up with Napoleon. I did not take them long, to be honest. What about Jose? I mean, Jose still scares me a little bit from a cultural victory perspective, but do we think it's possible that he would make for a very good ally? Actually, one thing I don't know is, like, if Ashoka were to declare war on me, and we were both allied to Napoleon, what would Napoleon do? Would he join the Defender, or would he stay out of it? What would be more likely? Can I split the alliance that way? I actually have no idea. Huh. I don't know if I'm willing to take the risk. I think I'll just go ahead and form an alliance here with Jose, just so I have one. We might break it later. It does depend a little bit on what people end up doing from an ideological perspective. But since the battle lines are already being drawn, I do not want to be the only person on this continent fighting against potentially 2 players. That might be a bit much. Ah, crap, we were too late to get to some of these dig sites. No! Ben Franklin, stop! I want to get in on this action! Yeah, we lost out some of these up over here, too. Oh, gosh, the AI completely outsped me here. I mean, I'm not surprised. I feel like you have to go into this age with a really, really strong culture production if you want to be competitive here. Like, this is definitely the age where all of the foundation we've been building for the last 200 turns or so is now really coming to fruition, and you have to play to what strengths you've got. Maybe I'll be able to get to 1 dig site. Maybe. But hey, I did manage to get myself an Oxford University. A proper modern wonder. It gets me some free texts, which is one of the reasons I wanted to pick it up. So you got urbanization and electricity for free. So even though I may not have the best science in the world, I feel like we're making some pretty darn solid progress over here. We'll be able to get to things like radio and flight a lot faster than I expected. This also unlocks a ton more buildings that I will be able to construct. Let's keep stacking up that advantage. I did get another free wild card attribute point as well. Kind of feel like we want more culture. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this up, which got me, oh my god, like 48 more culture per turn. Yeah, that was the better way to go. Okay, we've rectified that error. Good. Now, Ben Franklin just became a communist. Okay. No, that's funny. That means he's at least a full civic ahead of me right now, but, communism? Really? Okay. Oh, we did finally get a single artifact over here. One artifact. Wow. So beyond that, we would have to get to hegemony tech faster than anyone else, which I just don't see happening. So what does that really leave me with then? Well, realistically, I think the economic victory is very possible for me. We're in a good position to get things like industrialization and rail stations done quickly, and we have a lot of goods that I can set up, so we'll start churning through a lot of these points. Then we'll have to get the World Bank. Military is an option if I want to, but I'd have to deviate my scientific progress and instead focus a bit more on getting military techs done. Also, I really need a lot more ideological points for this to be efficient. So my culture is a little bit slow. I don't think the military victory is a great option for us. Science is possible. I think we could pull this off. I mean, realistically, my science has basically caught up to Ben Franklin. I'm now one of the best in the world, and I plan on continuing to scale. So this is possible too. I think it's going to come down to either an economic or a scientific victory for us. So we should try to probably focus on those two things more than anything else. All right, we're going to start working on that mass production tech. Keep in mind though, I need a lot of money so I can buy lots of factories and lots of rail stations. And those are expensive. They're going to be like 1,500 gold each. It will be worth it, and it will set me on track towards an economic victory. So we've got to do it. But my economy, my gold production, is going to be slowed down quite a lot while we wait. Now, I know we haven't finished ideology yet, but I see the Qing moving their units around, and I'm starting to think they might get aggressive towards me. Now is probably a good time to just go ahead and try to attack them while their army is still sort of in disarray. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and do it now. And that army commander is going down. Bye, buddy. All right. Heck, even his city districts are not prepared. Well, that's going to make conquering this very easy. Even with my technological advantage, the war is getting a little annoying. This guy's just pumping out ships. I'm guessing no one else attacked you yet. No, see, last time I fought you, you were literally fighting everyone else in the world. Okay, so this is a slightly more fair fight than before. I'm not opposed to that. That's fine. I'm pretty confident I can handle you. So we do have political theory done. The question now becomes, which of the ideologies do we want to go for? Communism actually might have been pretty good for us, but what you're going to see with a lot of these is you can get some social policies that will give you a lot of one thing and reduce another thing. So democracy, for example, suffrage, culture goes up, production goes down in towns. Not to mention you'll get some more specific attribute points and so on. And the more you focused on specific attribute points, generally the better with different ideologies. So, for example, towns get production equal to your militaristic attributes. If you have lots of militaristic attributes, this will make a lot of sense. If you have, let's say, a lot of culture, maybe you'd want to go for democracy instead. I unironically do think that communism would have been the best choice for us. But since Ben Franklin is probably one of my biggest threats in the game, and he already went for communism, maybe we should go with something else. I hate to say it, but I actually think that fascism might be the better choice of the bunch that we've got. More economic and militaristic points, that's kind of what we've already been focusing on. Get lots of gold, which is something we really benefit from quite a lot. And this won't necessarily help me get to a victory condition, but it will let me have really strong militaries that hopefully can ward off all the other players. And if it looks like I'm going to lose, I'll probably be going to war with everyone anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and start working on fascism. Weird as that feels. So now that we've started working on fascism, other nations that are following my ideology are going to like me more. Nations that do not are going to dislike me more, which makes sense. Hopefully this is not going to put me in a weird position where all of a sudden I can't be friends with anyone else. Like if I lost my alliance with Jose right now, we'd be in trouble. He is swarming with units. But it's okay. I've now got my factories online. So let's go ahead and get our first one built. I'm going to do that over here in Gebtu. And we should be able to go to our resource allocation and find the city. And there it is. Gebtu town now can have an extra slot for factory resources. Now you actually can do more than one copy of resources. So actually I could just go ahead and unassign everything here. And let's suppose that I wanted to really increase my settlement growth rate. We'll assign fish here. This is now what the factory is capped out to, and I can stack in a bit of extra fish. And unless I'm very much mistaken, that is a 15% settlement growth rate that has just been sent across my empire. Factories are strong, and now I'm going to start generating those factory points. Okay, Beijing over here has fallen. This city shall be mine. Sorry, Benjamin Franklin, you can't have it. Got ourselves another factory over here in Bactria. Let's go ahead and turn this into a Kowloon city, I think. Just try to boost up a little bit of that culture. So that gets me an extra about 26 or so culture per turn. That's pretty good. Now we can build a factory up in our capital as well. And that could theoretically open up a lot of slots. I could take all this stuff out and start replacing it with tons of factory goods, as long as it's all the same good. It's like my capital can produce massive amounts of coffee, for example. And yeah, if I don't need other things like, you know, let's say I don't care as much about getting some of the food or the happiness here, that might be worthwhile. Yeah, unless I'm very much mistaken, I think I just gave myself like an extra 35% towards building wonders and other buildings. I feel like that's pretty good, to be honest. I do think it's pretty good. We're starting to generate some points. Don't have a lot yet, but we're getting there. I'm going to start working on some flight tech now. It would be nice to be able to get myself an aerodrome and start working on some bombers. I don't know if we have this before anyone else does, but if we do, going to war against someone like Ashoka actually becomes very possible. In fact, I might want to consider starting to denounce and hinder our relations a bit. Fighting Ashoka seems completely reasonable to me, especially if I'm going to go for fascism. I want to have a military victory on the table. There's fascism. Okay, done. We get some cavalry units and a few more attribute points. And now we can go ahead and have peace with Tecumseh. I really don't need to keep beating on the poor guy. But you had such juicy cities! They were pretty, I wanted them. It does seem like Ben Franklin is gradually liking me a lot less. There we go, opposed ideologies. Yeah, we're not exactly in the best spot. I mean, we might be able to get through this entire age without having to go to war with Ben. If I can just get a really, really strong economic setup and get a lot of factory points, it'll be fine. I mean, I'm generating a pretty hefty number. And we can start getting some factory towns over here in our faraway distant cities. The only extra step is, on top of having a rail station, you also will need to have a port. So, would it make sense to start getting a ton of gold from specialists? Maybe. Towns? I really don't usually have a lot of happiness issues. If this was less happiness in all settlements, I might wonder if this would be worth it, but I don't know. This could be really good. And then, weirdly enough, in a fascist government, if I were to pair that up with free speech, the food and the happiness maintenance costs towards specialists would be greatly reduced. So all of a sudden, specialists getting me gold, science, culture, and production? That'd be pretty darn good. But by picking that up, we're now up to almost 1,800 gold per turn. I am leaving people behind in my dust. Let's make sure we get ourselves a good aerodrome. By doing this, we get ourselves some aerodrome commanders, which is a whole new type of military commander. Except these guys get promotions, and they can use this to boost up their planes. I'd really like to boost up my bombers. I don't think Ashoka's going to have any fighters to dogfight me, so I would be able to bomb him uncontested. Now, there are several different kinds of air units in this game. You've got your fighters, you've got your ground attack air units, which is kind of like close air support, and you've got your bombers. Bombers obviously are great for attacking at long range and destroying district defenses, so very good for burning down enemy cities. The trench fighter here, though, mostly is good at burning down enemy units. So having a lot of this can be very good for wiping out enemy armies and navies. But if you want to defend yourself against the close air support and the bombers, you need to have some basic fighters, and these are really only good for interceptions. Have these around key areas to prevent these fighters from doing a lot of damage. Okay, we have our next round of tech. That means it's time to upgrade to Tier 3 Cavalry. Big modern tanks. Also modern artillery. And also max tier sepoys, which is basically my unique units. They have a small bombardment ability. It's nice. Ben Franklin just finished the first milestone for the space race. Maybe not the first milestone, actually, but a milestone. And he's also getting very hostile with me now. Yeah, this is gonna be unpleasant, isn't it? Yeah, we can see actually here he has indeed done this. Okay, hang on. So when you say first step, what do we mean? I don't think it's just researching flight. He must have finished the first transoceanic flight project. So Ben Franklin undoubtedly has planes. But I'm making very solid progress toward an economic victory here. If I can just keep holding this down, we'll be fine. Ah, someone just beat me to a dang wonder! Ugh, it's Ashoka. Alright, Ashoka, I've never liked you. I never liked you from the moment I met you. So this means I am going to be denouncing you. And once we can get to those hostile relationships, I'm going to go ahead and kill you. That means I have to fight Napoleon as well, though, which is a bit of a problem. Fortunately, I don't think I have to worry too much about Ben Franklin joining in on a war, though he may decide to attack me anyway, simply because we hate each other. Okay, at last we do have hostility against Ashoka, so it's probably time to go ahead and take him down. Let's declare a formal war. Really sticking with our proper playstyle here, aren't we? Yes, we're fascists. That means we go kill things. Already making our push over here into Kausambi, so this city will hopefully not last very long. Hello, I see an army with some tanks. I probably should have bombarded that. Maybe there's still time. I have a trench fighter available. Ah, but I don't think we have the range. It's fine, though. How much damage can we do to... Not a lot to his dreadnought, unfortunately. But we can do a lot to the elephant over here. Boom! Tanks will take care of the rest. Woo! And just like we practiced in rehearsal, boys, unpack the army, take them down. So these sepoys over here, they can do a small little attack. It's almost like they're tiny howitzers, which, you know, that can be kind of useful. The real killer is going to be the bombers, though. Let's see if he can start bombing Kandahar and take this down. Should be able to as long as he doesn't have any major defenses. Well, as much as I would love to go charging in with the tanks, I don't want to get destroyed by his navy right now, so I think we wait on that. And maybe buy an extra plane or two. We don't have the best range on our planes yet, but it will get better. And now France is getting involved in the war. We knew they would. They are allied to Ashoka. Not a lot that I think he'll be able to do. That is tier 2 with our economic milestone, by the way. Okay. Well, he has a city down over here that maybe we could take advantage of. Let's push forward a little bit, see if he's got any defenses. Oh, but he has a lot of stuff over here by Shiraz. Well, hello. Looks like Jose did join the war on my side, which is one good thing. So that's going to keep these two players very distracted. Make my life easy. The only thing that could really screw me over right now is if Benjamin Franklin decides to do a little bit of American interventionalism. Moving into this city over here. Boom. This one is now mine. Sappara. So are we properly getting some military points as we conquer? Yes, we are. Okay, that's to be expected. So the French really set themselves up for problems here, though. With the amount of money that I am producing, I'm pretty much able just to train up units instantly in all these islands. And now this has just become kind of a death trap. I mean, good effort on your part, I suppose, like kudos, but it's not enough. Ashoka, for his part, just became democratic. Actually, that's great for me, because it means the more stuff I take from him, I now get 3 points, not only 2. So Kandahar is now mine. That was worth actually a pretty decent amount. Plus, I should be able to take this city as well. There we go. All right, so now we've hit the first milestone for our ideological conquest. Let's get over here and take another city, this one from Napoleon, so the Prussians have lost their only foothold on this continent. Yeah, all of a sudden I'm making a lot of progress on the military side of things. I guess we could win the game that way, but I just feel like it'd be so much more interesting to win this as a railroad tycoon, you know? You've never seen an economic victory before in a Civ game. This is a completely new concept. We'll just march in over here, take this city, boom, that's the second tier. And I could try to end the war here, but I've got a pretty sizable momentum advantage right now. So I don't really see a good reason to do that aside from my settlement limits. I guess the fact that Benjamin Franklin is now hostile to me is a kind of scary thing. That could be a problem. I mean, I'm pretty sure I only have to take like one more city anywhere from Ashoka, and I have enough military points to actually work toward Project Ivy. So, I don't know. We're really close to winning the game, honestly. We really are. If he were smart, he'll attack me. And he didn't, but Temkemsa did. Why? Really? Jose, my ally, joined communism. Right. I might find myself as the only fascist on this world, which means I'm going to get isolated very, very quickly. So knowing this is a possibility, we should go ahead and start making some very aggressive pushes to end the game, which I'd still love to get the economic victory. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not trying to push it so much that I will negate that. I'd love to get it, but if it looks like I'm in danger and I have to just go for a quick victory, well, I'd rather not lose. I could work on the transoceanic flight myself. This would get me one of my points toward legacy science. Not that I strictly need that at this point. I think we've kind of given up on the ability to outpace Benjamin Franklin. His science and culture has just been ridiculous all game. I don't know if that's because he has extremely high happiness, but man, he's built himself well. So let's go ahead and pack up and start moving up over here. I need to take this city. My bombers will have it dealt with long before I'm in any danger. So at this point, I feel like I've kind of kicked a lot of people's teeth in here. I just need to get in position to take this one city. Napoleon, can we be done? No? All right. Napoleon, I've noticed, once he gets the bit between his teeth, he has no interest in ever ending a war. Even though he is probably losing and should give up. I don't know if that says something about Napoleon's personality or something like that. Probably. Well, I've got hegemony now, finally. And we can now conduct some research over here, find ruin sites, so let's try for it. And I want to do this in pretty much all of the continents. And amazingly, there are still many dig sites available right now. Ooh, wait a minute. Huh. I can't exactly go for a victory in this, I don't think, but we might as well go for some more. We took down the defenses here once more. In we go. Boom! All right. We are now a modern master, a very modern major general. We've unlocked the Manhattan Project. And also, eventually, yeah, it looks like a lot of production towards projects for every military legacy point that we have. Well, we should have a bunch, because I've been aggressive this entire game. Well, at this point, I'm not sure there's much else that I need to do here. Should we just go ahead and propose peace? Yeah, we probably should. Trying to think if there's any other reason not to do that. Maybe. Where's my Manhattan Project? I don't actually see that as one of our projects that we can do. Oh, there it is. Never mind, hold on. All right, get a nuclear weapon. Oh, man. It would be fun to be able to do a little bit of nukage now, wouldn't it? I mean, I still want to go for that economic victory, but, I mean, I've got to use a nuke. I gotta see what the nukes look like. Let's at least get out of war with Napoleon. I have no reason to be angry with you. And who else is considered a threat to me at this point? I mean, Ashoka is going for a cultural victory of his own, but he hasn't gotten that far. Yeah, I think we can afford to just go ahead and peace out with him. We can always fight someone else. Thank you for all the military points. It was fun playing with my food. I mean, you. Besides, I'm not even done with my wars, technically speaking. For some reason, the Qing wanted to fight me again. I'll oblige. This city is mine now. Did I want it? Nope. But there it is. Now, of course, this means we are over our settlement limits, which is a little bit dangerous. How did I suddenly shoot up to 900 science? What did I take from Ashoka that was worth so much? Oh, man. I don't actually know, but I'm not unhappy about it. There's my railroad tycoon as well. Okay, perfect. I also just got a challenge complete. Flawless campaign, you say? Flawless? Oh, that's nice. So wait, what did I just get here? Hold on. So now that we've reached this stage, I am able to unlock the World Bank victory condition. This gets me a great banker. And now I must establish a World Bank office in every capital for the other players. It's going to cost me gold and influence. So, if I had good relationships with people, this wouldn't be so bad. The fact that I don't have good relationships with people might mean that an economic victory condition is not feasible. It's possible I'm misunderstanding how this is going to work. Let's go ahead and send a world banker over, I guess, to Ashoka first, and see if we can convince him to give me all of his money. In a financial investment, of course. I mean, we are almost 80% of the way through the age, at which point I believe it just ends regardless. Will we even be able to finish this in time? I don't know. It really depends. If this is a matter of bribing people with money, I'm good to go. If this is a matter of needing a lot of influence, that's where I may have a problem here. I may not be able to complete this before the game would naturally end. Yeah, I need 22 more influence in order to do this. Okay. I mean, let's give it a shot regardless. I want to see what's going to happen. I'm going to go ahead and convert some of the settlements I just conquered into hub towns. That'll be worth at least a bit more influence, right? The more connected it is to other settlements, the more we're going to gain out of this. And some of these are in good central locations. So I kind of figure the more influence I'm generating, probably the better. Yeah, this is actually a great way of hugely increasing my influence. We went from 30-some per turn up to 81 per turn. We are finding artifacts, by the way. So I actually don't know if this is a situation where you're guaranteed to be able to find relics if you get hegemony, or if maybe none of the other AIs actually picked it up for some reason. I can't imagine that's the case. I don't know why they would skip out on hegemony unless they really feel like they have to finish out some of their ideology trees. Maybe. But I'm not going to complain, because if I'm able to start getting all the artifacts, I mean, heck, why not? I've got 3 out of the 15. Make that 4, actually. So I've got more influence. Let's go ahead and spend this. So that is 1 office complete. Where's the capital of the French? It's Berlin. Sorry, French. I keep saying Prussians. Good. I need to break this mindset from old Civ games. Napoleon does not equal French automatically. He could very well be someone else. It's gonna take a little bit of practice, but I'm starting to get it. Did build my first aircraft carrier, by the way. It appears that it works exactly the same as an aerodrome. Once you build this, this is effectively going to be an aircraft commander, but with a special type of talents for carrier operations, giving you extra movement, giving you extra capacity, etc. And then, of course, you know, it's mobile. I can see this being very, very powerful, but not overpowered. It'll still need an escort with some battleships and destroyers. And by the way, it does look like maybe Benjamin Franklin is working on hegemony. All these explorers suddenly popped in here all at once. All right, so yes, he did just get hegemony. Now he's grabbing artifacts. This is still very much a race. But it's a race where I'm making 4,000 gold per turn. Oh my god! I'm making 10 times more gold than Benjamin Franklin, and I got more science than him. Ooh. Yeah, all of a sudden we're looking real strong here. There's my first cultural milestone. Nice. And it looks like I've lost my ally. I think we're heading toward a game where literally everyone's going to be hostile to me. I do. I think we are heading straight for that. And that will become immensely unpleasant. Unless, of course, I have nukes. By the way, I just realized that my great banker has the ability to just teleport to other cities. Well, that's nifty. There's my first round on the space race. That was just me doing a transatlantic flight or whatever it is. Transoceanic. So I didn't have to do that, specifically. But it was kind of cool. Now we can break the sound barrier. And I mean, yeah, that's an option for us. I'm already working on the Manhattan Project for the next 4 turns, so we might as well put our time into something, and this would get me the second tier of science. We'll start researching rocketry, just so that's an option for me. And Gardens of Paradise, purchase wonders with gold. Considering how much gold we make, I think that's a totally worthwhile idea. So what would it take for me to get... Okay, actually, you know, this isn't terrible. We will be able to get the next World Bank chapter office in Berlin soon. I only need 1 more turn of influence, 11 more influence, so it's going to be about 350. So we went from like 250 to like 350. Yeah, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while for me to get enough influence to make this work. But this might be possible. So let's establish that next office. So now I need to get an office in, I guess, Tokyo. And in, where's Washington, D.C. And then Echmara. So 3 more to go. I do see, it looks like, yeah, Jose is still fighting against Napoleon. And Ashoka, I believe. I think I left him high and dry to die. That's great, actually. You know what? You broke off your alliance with me. You go ahead and just, you know, distract yourself for the rest of the game. Pay no attention to me creeping toward victory. There it is. The Manhattan Project. I am become death. The destroyer of worlds. Give me that nuke. Be afraid, world. Be very afraid. Look at all the green particle physics. Yeah, that thing's ready to blow any second. So now we can work on Operation Ivy. Ooh, complete this project to demonstrate the world's first thermonuclear weapon and win the game. We're only 11 turns off? Well, frick, I guess we might as well. Get started. In the meantime, I'm just gonna keep doing what I've been doing, which is try to sway people over to my bank. What would it take to get the... we can already get the Americans on my side. Hold on. All right. Boom. That's not that bad. That's only like 300 influence. And I produce 100... We're like 6 turns away from winning an economic victory. Not to mention I'm still making progress with things like the cultural victories. Grab my banker. Let's go ahead and travel to another city. Do we have enough to get these guys? We already do. Okay. Okay, we made the second milestone progress here for a science victory. So now we're working on rocketry, and I can't think of what else to do except just go ahead and start producing some nukes for fun. Generally speaking, I think if you're in a position where you can say I'm making nukes for fun, you're probably winning the game. One last transfer. Where do we go? All right, Tokyo. Bada boom. We win! I have established the fascist World Bank! And that is an economic victory, ladies and gentlemen. A first time ever. An entirely new way of enjoying civilization, and I did it on Deity difficulty. Dare I say that this might even have been a world first? Probably not. But I can definitely say that I am one of probably a handful of people in the world who has beaten Civilization VII on Deity difficulty now. I mean, it helps that, like, you know, there was no, like, competition. But that's beside the point. So, for completing this, we got actually a very good score across the board. We got 2 levels on science and culture and golden age on our military and our economy. Look at all those legacy points. And across the board, I was the best, even in culture. And that shouldn't have been possible. Kudos to Ben Franklin, though. You scared me for a lot of the game. I'm not sure what you were doing with your time because you had such an advantage you should have destroyed me, but I guess I'm just that good. But you know something? As awesome as that was, and I'll take the victory, I think there's one thing we're missing, something I know you guys want to see. Hi, Ben Franklin, how are you? I've got a new toy. Would you like to see it? I'll bring it to you, gift wrapped. Just look up. Boom! Alright, sorry, we just had to get that out of our system. By the way, it was totally possible for us to go to a cultural victory. There is just enough artifacts over here that I would be able to finish that out. So every victory condition was actually completely viable in this game. It's just that some were a little bit easier than others. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is Sid Meier's Civilization VII and everything that the game has to offer. I had a lot of fun with that. I learned a lot, too. Definitely a few things I would do differently as far as planning ahead with, let's say, my religion or my city layouts and making sure I maximize adjacency bonuses, using specialists to greater effect. But regardless, I'm proud of myself. We went into this without a ton of experience, and yet we were able to take this new game on at the highest possible difficulty, and I get to join the ranks of one of the first people ever to beat this on Deity difficulty. Very cool for me. A huge thank you to 2K and Firaxis for sponsoring today's video. This was awesome. If you guys would like to learn more about Sid Meier's Civ 7, there will be a link in the description down below, and I would encourage you to click on that to learn more about the PC or console versions of the game. But aside from that, thank you all very much for watching. Please hit that like button if you did enjoy this series, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit that notify bell. If you'd like to see more Civ 7 in the future, let me know. And I will see you guys next time.